Joel, and I'm back with another video on SD-WAN. In this video we will actually look into the most basic feature, which is the NAT functionality, right? So NAT is something which we have probably used a lot already, in the past in our traditional networking. We will just look into how we can do NAT, in a SD-WAN environment as well, right? As simple as that. So now just to give a little bit of information here, when you talk about NAT, so when you talk about NAT, there are mainly, I would say, there are two types of NATs. One is the transport side NAT, right, and the other one is service side. Yes, you guessed it right. The second one is the service side NAT. We will mainly be concentrating on the transport side NAT because what is the difference between these both guys? The transport side NAT is mainly needed when you want to NAT the traffic out of your local transport interface, right? So say I'm on BR3 and I want to go out into the internet, right? I'd have to NAT the traffic when the traffic is going outside, this gigabit 0/0 interface here, right? So that is where NATing is needed, and that's a feature of SD-WAN which you call as direct internet access, right? DIA, right? So this is really needed when you talk about DIA, right? So what is direct internet access? Basically providing internet access directly to the edge, right? Unlike the earlier enterprise networks, right, where even to this day some enterprise networks do that, where all the traffic from the site is first backhauled to the headquarters and from there it's going out to the internet. But that's not actually needed when you talk about some of the use cases which we have now, because more and more applications are getting deployed on the cloud, right? So there are a lot of SaaS based applications. So what is expected as of today's large scale enterprises is that we provide direct internet access from the site itself, so that they don't have to send that traffic all towards the headquarters and from there send it outside, right? So so that's mainly the motivation or inspiration behind the NAT here, because we want to do a direct internet access from the edge, and whenever we are talking to the internet, we need to be we need to have a public address, right? Everyone knows that. So that's the inspiration behind the NAT or the NAT conversations, right? Cool. That being said, what we will do is, I don't have to probably explain the whole network again. We have done this probably another 15-16 videos on this already, but just to give you a heads up, we have two transports. One is the internet, one is the MPLS, which we have set up. We have set up all the edges as well, right? All of them are up. As of now, we have like a direct connectivity. We have like a full mesh connectivity, right? So we don't have any control policies, data policies up, right? We have done all of that in the videos, but we obviously deactivate it as soon as we finish the lab. So as of now, if you look at my lab here, right, this is the actual lab, the Eve lab. I don't have, I have a full connectivity, right? And I can probably show you that. Let me show you on my secured CRT. Yep, so maybe let me show it to you on vSmart, right? So this is my vSmart, and if you see my T-locks as of now, you can see all the T-locks are visible here. So this is my site 1, like R1, this is R2, this is BR1-1, 1-2, then this is BR, this is BR2, this is BR3, this is BR1-2. So what I want to show you is that you can see every single site has connectivity using both the transports, which is MPLS and internet, right? So you can see the vManage as well, everything seems to be up, and there is like full connectivity. That's the initial state of the lab. Now what are we going to do is we are going to play around with NAT. So first NAT which we are going to try is, we know that there are different kinds of NATs, right? And we will we'll basically go and try out all kinds of NAT. So the first thing we are going to do is dynamic NAT. We'll do dynamic PAT, right? So this will be the first thing which we are going to try out. And what is the condition here? As per dynamic PAT, we are going to do everything on my the site 103 here, right? So that being said, let me just go inside a bit, right? So yeah, so dynamic PAT, the condition here is we want to kind of take all the traffic, right, which means everything, the 0.0.0, right, match any traffic, and we are going to NAT it right on the interface. Which is the interface? This particular interface, which is gigabit 0/0, and the IP address is 1.1.103.2, right? This interface over here, right? So what we are doing is we are doing dynamic PAT, port address translation, right? So remember the overload in our traditional networking, that is what we are going to do. We are basically telling any traffic, right? We are basically going to do this on our whole exercise. We are going to use the VPN 12, I believe, or 10. Let me just see. Yeah, we'll do it on VPN 12, right? So remember from the previous videos, we have created multiple VPNs here behind. Let me just highlight this. Yeah, so we are going to use VPN 12. In my previous video, you can check what I have done is we have created on each of these sites, we have created like 3 VPNs, right? We have created VPN 10, VPN 11 and VPN 12, all right? And we are basically going to be using this particular VPN 12 for our discussion today, or everything related to NAT, we are going to do it on VPN 12. Okay, so that being said, let's get started. So we want to NAT the traffic, right? Straightforward. We want to do a PAT for what? We want to do a PAT for my whole of VPN 12. Every traffic from the VPN 12, we want to do a PAT, right? So let's see how we do that. Okay, so before that, let me show you the pre-config which is present on this particular device, which is the switch 2, which is behind BR3. Right? So if I go down there, this one, right? So if I do something like, let's show you the interfaces first, right? So if I do show IP interface brief, so show IP interface brief, and you see you have the IP addresses. The VLAN 12 has a SVI, which is 172.17.3.194. That's what we'll be using. And what else? So as of now, if you see, we don't have connectivity to the internet from this particular VLAN. Why? Because there is no NAT, right? So if I do something like ping 8.8.8, which is like the Google's DNS, right? If I do that from where the source interface being VLAN 12, right? It won't work, right? It's not working. You can see the ping is not working. Reason? Because we don't have NAT, we don't have connectivity. Yeah, so that's basically it, right? So currently we don't have connectivity, and after we finish the configuration of NAT, we will have it, right? Just to give a little more of a heads up here, you might be confused on what is this VPN 10, 12 and all of that, right? So let me just take a minute to just explain what we have done here. So if I look at BR3, right, which is my router here, so this is the transport side and this is the service side, right? So on the transport side, I have my VPN 0. That's fixed always. On the service side, you are free to go and define any VPNs you want. In our case, what we have done, we have defined VPN 10, 11 and 12. There are 3 different VPNs which we have defined on the service side, for our flexibility. And in our video, in fact, this particular video, we will basically be concentrating on this guy, this VPN 12, right? What we are trying to do is we are trying to make sure that anyone who is connected on VPN 12, will have connectivity to the internet, right? So when this guy who is connected to VPN 10, when he's trying to reach out to the internet, his traffic should get natted out, right? So that's what we are heading towards, right? And yeah, so that's basically it, right? That's what we are trying to do. Cool. So let me just get rid of this. Right, that being said, I think we are in good place to now start with our configuration of the lab. Right, so let's go down here. Let's start with where do we do? So let's go to our templates. The first step would be let's go and find that template which we have configured for the iNet interface, because we are mainly playing around with what? We are mainly playing around with this interface, right? The gigabit 0/0, which is the internet interface for my, which is the local DIA interface, right? The direct internet access interface for my BR3. So let's go and find that one. So if I do iNet here, okay, so I have a bunch of things. I don't think it's this one. This is for R1, so it's going to be this guy. Let's check the devices attached. Looks like I have, give it a second. Let's get this here. Okay, so looks like I have the BR2, BR3 and BR1-1. It's fine even if BR1-1 gets it. I was ideally hoping only two of the, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so let's go and edit this interface, right? The internet interface. Let's enable NAT on that. I mean, it will obviously go for the 3 devices which are attached to it, but that's okay. We will do our testing only on BR3. Give me a second. Yep, so we go to the NAT, go under the NAT tab here. So under the NAT tab, you will basically need to first enable NAT, right? So let's go and change this to global. Let's enable it, right? So as soon as you enable this, the rest of the stuff starts coming down. The refresh mode, basically how the NAT entries are refreshed. So we can just make it global and probably enable it bidirectional. I think that should be fine. Okay, looks like this guy is stuck a second. Give me a second. Looks like he's stuck. Okay, now he's back. Let's see where is NAT. Okay, let's go to NAT. Yeah, there you go. So refresh. I'm gonna choose bidirectional, right? And let's enable. I mean, do we want this? The logging of NAT. This looks to be some kind of a new feature. I've not seen this before, but let's not play around with that. UDP timeout, TCP timeout. Let's keep it as is. Block ICMP. Let's enable this. Block ICMP. Let's turn it off because we will be testing mainly with our ICMP packets, right? So I want to keep that on. Respond to ping. It's currently turned off. Let's turn it on. Anything related to ICMP, let's turn it on because it would be needed for our testing. And I think that's it. I mean, that's more than enough for us to do dynamic PAT, right? So which is going to be our first use case. So let's go and update this. I believe it will go and change it for all my 3 devices, but that's all right. Let's get the secure CRT ready to check, right? So let's go to BR3 to admin. So on my admin, I should now see, okay, that's a mistake. Right, so let's check if this has already come. If I do show run, VPN 0, interface gigabit 0/0, right? Okay, that's interesting. Show run, did I do something wrong? Show run, VPN 0, interface gigabit 0/0. Okay, this is good. So you see, okay, the NAT stuff has not yet come, I guess. Let's check if it got pushed. Oh, sorry, I did not hit the configure yet, my bad. So now let's go and do this. I thought I had already done that. Okay. All right, looks like the configurations have been pushed, which means we should go and rerun this command, and you can see now the NAT commands have come down on my BR3, right? So we have enabled the NAT functionality, but that's not it, right? So we have enabled right now what we have done. If you look at the topology, we have just enabled the NAT here, but we haven't told the BR3, right, which traffic has to be NATed. So that's what we are basically going to do next, right? So let's go back. Where do we go? Let's go back to my feature templates. Let's go here, and remember I was telling earlier we want to do this NAT only for VPN 12. So let's find that template which is corresponding to the VPN 12. It should be there somewhere here. There you go. See, all the devices are attached to it. So let's edit it. Yes, all these changes would go for all devices, but that's okay. Should be fine. So once you come down here, we'll have to go to the IPv4 route. So what are we doing here is we are basically, let me go down here. So we are basically telling the router, which is BR3, we are telling the edge, all the traffic from VPN 12, right? All the traffic from VPN 12 has to be forced outwards. When it is going outside, it has to be forced out to VPN 0, right? Because we have enabled NAT on the VPN 0, right, just now. So but the VPN 12 traffic, the internet traffic from VPN 12, we have two options to do it. Either you can do it what we are doing right now, either using a static route. So let me mention that here, right? So there are two ways to do this. Either you can do it using a static route, which we are using, or you can also do it using some kind of a data policy, right? You can create a data policy saying all the traffic coming from VPN 12 direct it to VPN 0, right? So that's what we are doing. Traffic coming from VPN 12 will go to VPN 0, right? So we are kind of like redirecting the traffic so that the NAT which we have enabled will come into play, right? You'll understand better as we proceed with this. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that for now. So let's go to the VPN 12's template, and on that let's go to this IPv4 section, right? There is no route as of now, so we put a static route. The static route always you define using the mask, right? 0.0.0/0, right? So and we will have to, instead of putting a next stop, we'll just select the VPN, right? And we will turn this on here. Looks like it's a bit slow today, right? So let's select the global and let's turn this on here, right? So let's add this. Do we make it optional? That's fine. I mean, we don't have to fill anything, so let's just add it for everyone. So all the VPN 12 traffic will now be sent to VPN 0. Is forced to go to VPN 0, right? Good. So we have done that. We will have to save this or update this. Let's give it a second. So we'll click on next. Right, if you want to see the configuration, you can see now it should appear here somewhere under the config, under the VPN 12, right? So if I do, right, so VPN 12, here you see the configuration has come. We are basically telling all the traffic send it to VPN 0. Cool. Let's configure it. Let's configure all the 5 devices with it. Right, so that looks good. So it is completed, which means we can now go back to my secure CRT and we can check what is happening here, right? So let's do show IP route VPN 12. Let's see what's happening here. So see, you can see the default route, right? And you can see the protocol is NAT now, right? So only for the NAT, right, you can see the default route has changed. And it is, a default route has been added, and we are saying the gigabit 0/. We did not explicitly provide this interface. We just told it to send it to VPN 0, but the VH was smart enough to understand that the gigabit 0/0 is the internet facing, is the public internet or the internet facing transport interface, and it automatically added the next stop here. Right? Cool. That being said, what do we do next? Let's do some show command. So show. I think it is show IP NAT interface, right? So you can see the information here. It basically is telling you the same stuff, right? The IP address to which it will get NATed to and stuff like that, which is fine. Let's also check another command, which is show IP NAT filter, right? You can see the information again pretty nicely. I'm not sure if there is a tabular version of this. Okay, you have that, so that's good, right? You get to know what is going to be the private address, what is the public address, and so on, right? You can also see this on my tool as well, right? So if I probably go down to monitor here, I think you should find it under network, right? You should have real time. Let's go to, okay, let's select BR3 and let's go to real time. Where is real time? Let's go to real time, and under real time, if I select something like IP NAT filters, right, do not filter, right? There you go, you can see every single thing, right? Most of whatever you're seeing here right now seems to be the connections going out for the all these seems to be control connections, right? So the VH, what you see is natting all the traffic going out that particular interface, right? And most of these seems to be the interface you can see here .11, .12, these are all my V manage, V smart and V bond, right? So those connections are getting natted as well, right? So this will be like your live filter for checking all the NAT connections going and going out, right? So if you feel that this is difficult to read, from the CLI, you can always go back to the dashboard to check it out. Okay, awesome. So now let's check if so we are on BR3. We will have to go back to the switch where we were not earlier able to do the ping, right? See, this is the ping which we were not supposed to do. We were not able to ping 8.8.8, which is like the Google's DNS, the internet, right? We were not able to do that from VLAN 12 because NAT was not working, right? We did not have NAT. Let's see if this works again. Able to test. So let me just clear the screen a bit again. So if I do ping 8.8.8, right, with the source VLAN of source interface of VLAN 12, right? There you go, it's working, right? So now just to show you guys that it is actually natting, what I'm gonna do is, let me go down here to the monitor. Let's go to network. I think I closed the earlier tab. Anyway, let's go to BR3. Let's go to real time. Be somewhere over here. And let's go to NAT here. NAT filters. Do not filter. Right, so right now you probably don't see anything. Let me just start a ping for say let's repeat this, right? Let's repeat it for say 1000. So when that is happening, if you refresh the screen here, we should be able to capture it, right? See, there you go, we have the ICMP going in, right? So it is going to 8.8.8 and you can see the translation happening as well. So this is the public address, the port number which is used is just 1, right? And this is the translation happening. So you can see the NAT translation is happening when we are doing a ping from from VLAN 12, which is nothing but VPN 12, right? We could also check by doing a telnet, right? So let's do a telnet probably. Let's do a telnet to where do we do a telnet? Let's obviously we can't do it to the Google DNS. Let's do a telnet to this internet router, right? So I have a loopback up there, which means 1.1.255.25. If I do a source interface of, I don't know, maybe this should work, yeah. Source interface VLAN 12, right? There you go, right? We have it open. Let's do a who to understand what is the IP address, and it should actually be 1.1.103.2, right? If our calculation is correct. There you go, perfect. We should see this also over here. Let's refresh it. Let's refresh it. I think that did not go in. Give it a second. Right, there you see, now you can see the TCP, right? The port number, let's see the port number, it should be 23, right? Because it is telnet. See, there you go. The destination port number is 23, and that is very much in line with what we did over here. So let's exit from here. Okay. Now that we are done with that, let's go to the second type of NAT, which we want to discuss down here. That's going to be your what do? We do port forwarding next. So let's do that. Let me just get rid of, let's just scroll this a bit inside so that we can write more stuff, right? So we did dynamic pat. So the next one which I want to do is obviously the static pat, right? Let me mention this here. So static pad, what do we have in static pad? What we intend to do is it's like port forwarding, right? So we are basically going to be concentrating on the same VPN, right, in all our examples. The actual use case here is the switch 2, which we were seeing earlier, right? We want to convert this, or we want to translate this address 172.17.3.194, right? This is the switch 2 address, right? And let's take probably the port number 22 to 23, right? So both of these ports, we want to obviously translate it to, so static pad and dynamic pad, that's a difference. In dynamic pad, we basically let the device do it, right? Let the device choose the ports and all of that. Where in static pad, we explicitly tell the device what translation it has to use, right? So here we are obviously going to translate this to what? 1.1.103.2, and the port numbers again, we are going to translate exactly to 22 and 23. So this is going to be translated to this. So let's get on with it, right? So it's pretty simple again. Let's go down to the same, let's keep this open and probably open a new tab. Let's open the templates here. Right, so we are here now, right? So yep, so let's go down to my okay, did I open the same thing? Okay, so we are here. Wait a second, it's loading. Okay, so let's go to feature templates, and under this let's search for the same thing which we did earlier. Everything we are gonna do, we'll be doing it on the iNet interface, right? Because we wanna, the main goal of this is to do DIA. So yep, so there you go. Let's go and edit it again. Click on this. So just to recap, what we'll be doing now is we will move from dynamic pad to static pad, right? So let's go and click on NAT here. So under the NAT, you basically see we'll retain everything here, I believe. Yeah, all of this, let it be there. What we will do is explicitly go down to a section called port forwarding, right? And here let's add a new table, and what do we do? So we'll turn on, let's go down. Yeah, port forwarding. The port start range will be 22, right? Because we want to translate that. 23, the end range will be 23, 22 to 23. Port protocol will be TCP. Let's do TCP, and the VPN on which the VPN from where the data has to be translated is 12, and the private IP which has to be translated is 172.17.3.194, right? Which is the switch 2's IP, right? Makes sense. Let's add this. Let's update it. Let's click on next. There's nothing to be, there are no values to be filled in, so we are good. Configure devices. Let's click on this, click OK, and it should happen now any minute. All right, looks like that got completed. So now to test this, what we'll have to do is we'll have to go down to my R internet, right? So assuming that this is some kind of a device in the internet, from there, we will try to so static pad you mainly use when you want someone from outside of the internet to reach out to you, right? So because it is static, so from this device we will try to do a telnet, to the switch, and let's see how that works out. So let's go down to the secure CRT, right, and let's put in telnet 172 dot sorry, not 172. We'll have to put in the public address, which is 1.1.103.2. Port number will be 23. Obviously we need not mention because it is telnet anyway. There you go, right? So we are having the username Cisco, and there you go, that works, right? Right, that makes sense. There you go. So we are able to telnet from the internet to my switch. If I do a command here, you will basically get to see even the IP address, the translated IP address as well. So we could check that. Right, you can see here we are basically this connection is coming from 1.1.103.1, right? So that being said, let's also look at the let's refresh this table down here to see the connection. Right, there you go. See, this is the connection which we have, right, coming from 1.1.103.1, which is my R internet. Right, this is the TCP connection coming into my switch 2, and you can see it is coming on the port 23, which is the telnet, which we just now accomplished. Awesome. So we are done with 2 types of NAT. Let's move on. So let's come down here. Okay, so we're done with 2 types of NAT, and the next NAT which we want to concentrate on would be my dynamic NAT, right? So we are done with all the patch stuff. So let's go back here, let me just mention it, and let me show you how you can configure that as well. So the next one is my dynamic NAT, right? So this is what we are going to do. Any guess on how to do this? So this will be again pretty straightforward. So we will basically take, it's very similar to dynamic PAT, right? I mean, at least from the problem point of view. So what we are trying to solve is we want all the traffic, so which is going to be matched by the wildcard, to get translated into a particular pool, right? So that's the difference between, so let me define the pool here. So it's going to be from say 32 to 63. So this will be the pool, right? So that's the main difference between your this thing, dynamic PAT and dynamic NAT, right? In dynamic PAT, we were overloading it, and we were basically using the same IP address, but we were switching the ports, right? For every new connection, we basically switch the ports, or we add a, we basically create the connection using different ports. Whereas in case of dynamic NAT, what we do is every connection, we kind of translate it to a new address coming from this particular pool, right? So this pool is basically defined, and we make dynamic NAT make possible, you know, using that. So again, pretty straightforward configuration, nothing very complicated. So let's go back and do that. Let's go down here, right? Let's go back here. Give me 1 second. Right, so let's go to templates. So once we are on templates, we will have to search for the iNet again. Let's search on iNet, and once we are on iNet, let's go and edit this. Right, so let's go to the NAT part, and let's go down here. Where do we find the NAT part, right? So let's click on NAT. Let's scroll a bit down. I really don't want the port forwarding anymore, so let's go and delete it, right? And so once we have deleted that, we have to do the dynamic NAT. So let's scroll a bit top. There will be not much of a change from what we already have, right? So what we will do is we will have to just go and define the pool. So let's go and add a pool here, saying that, you know, so this will basically going to be device specific. This is the NAT range, start and end value, right? So we'll have to select this. Even here, we can't define a static value because we don't want the same pool to be used for all the edges, right? We'll have to define different pools for all the different edges. So that's the only configuration, guys. I mean, we'll have to just go and update this. I have a feeling this will go on for 3 devices, so we'll have to put in the values. I mean, we'll anyway be testing it. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, there you go. So thank you, we managed. It just told me that I did not put in the values, right? So this is my BR3, so I will go with 1.1.103 dot what was my range? 32 to 63. Right, so that was good. Let's go to the next device. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll have to put in for BR2 as well, right? So let's do that. So let's edit this. So it's going to be 1.1. We know we have to change it to 102.32, and the end address is going to be the same thing with the difference of 63. Update. Okay, and I think we also have BR1-1, right? So we are second, right? So even for BR1-1, let's go and put in some IP. We'll not be obviously testing for these devices, but I just want to put in the IP. So let's change this to obviously clearly 101. So the other side is going to be, right, let's paste that, and it's going to be 63, right, 32 to 63. Cool. Update. Let's click on next. If you want to see the configuration going in, we could have a look at it here. Right, maybe click on the diff. See, there you go, that's the configuration which will go in. We basically deleted the port forwarding, so that will get deleted, and you can see the NAT pool coming in here, right? Cool. So that's gonna happen. Give it a few seconds for it to go and push it. All right, so that looks good. It's passed. So what we'll do is let's switch back to my BR3, right? So what we do here is let's clear any old NAT stuff which is there on it. I think it's clear IP NAT filter. There you go, let's clear it. So let me show you the configuration. If it has come in, it will be show run VPN 0 interface gigabit 0/0, right? So we should have it somewhere here. Here you see the NAT pool has come in, which is pretty cool. Now what we'll do is we'll go back to my switch, which is the switch behind the device, which is BR3, right? Let me clear the screen a bit, and let's do a ping to what, 8.8. source it from your VLAN 12. There you go, that went in. But if you want to see it on the dashboard here, probably we'll have to do a bigger one. So let's refresh it. So let's do it again. Let's probably do the same thing again, probably with the, let's repeat it for, I don't know, maybe like 200, right? So while that happens, we should be able to refresh here and see the ICMP. See, you see the ICMP here going in, so which means our dynamic NAT is working, and you see the IP address which it is using for translating the very first IP address, right, out of the range, which is pretty cool. Second thing is, let's also try to kind of do a telnet, right? If you do a telnet from here, let's see what happens. So let's do a telnet to what, 1.1.255.25. Source address is gonna be your VLAN 12. Source IP will be your VLAN 12. There you go, the connection went in. Let's check the IP address, or let's refresh this and see the translated IP address. You see it here. This is the private addresses, but what is the translated address? It's still using 32, right? Because the earlier connection was closed, the ICMP connection was closed, so now even for telnet it is still using 32, right? So that's pretty much it. We can also do a command as who over here, and you'll basically get to see the same IP address again, right? So we have verified 3 types of NATs already. The last NAT which is available is your static NAT, right? So you see the IP address is here. All right, so let's exit from here and do the last type of NAT which I want to cover in this video, which is going to be your static NAT. So let's go back to the drawing board and just write that stuff down so that we have a note, so that we can review the whole configurations. We can review the whole stuff later with the last. Okay, so we are done with right, so here we are. So let's do the last part, which is going to be my static, but this time not PAT, it is going to be static NAT, right? Just to recap the various things which we have done today. So we started with we did dynamic NAT. Sorry, let's get that off, right? So yeah, so we did dynamic PAT, we did static PAT, we did dynamic NAT, and now what we are doing is we are going to be doing dynamic NAT. Okay, So that being said, what is the whole expectation here? Dynamic NAT is more like a one-to-one mapping, right? So what I mean by one-to-one mapping, so what we'll be doing here would be nothing but we will take the same IP address which we have been playing around since earlier, the same 172.17.3.194, right? So we will take this IP address and we will directly map it to what? 1.1.103 dot, say, one of the address which is mentioned in the pool, right? So it has to be one of the address in the pool. Without the pool it would not work. So we have to define a pool and we have to explicitly say map this particular address to, say, 63, right? So let's use 63, not 32, because then you might not know if it is happening because of dynamic NAT or not, right? So let's do this. Let's do this use case. So let's go back to our configuration. Let's go back to our favorite guy, which is our templates. All right, so let's go back, let's go to the templates, let's click on the feature templates, right? So we have iNet here. So once we are on iNet, let's click on edit. Right, so yeah, so once we are here, let's scroll down to the NAT section. Go there. Yep, so we are on the NAT section. Let's scroll a bit more down, right? Let's keep whatever we have as of now, which is fine. Let's just go to yeah, so let's go to the static NAT section over here, right? And what do we do? So here under the static NAT, let's add a new static NAT, and this is the place where you'll define the source address. So we will keep this device specific, right? So we will say VPN static NAT source IP, probably source IP number 1. Like, you can define more if you want, but let's do it as IP number 1, right? So that's good. And the target is also going to be device specific, right? So let's say this has NAT translate address, which is IP_1. What else? Let's define the VPN, right, which we want to be translated. We could keep this global to 12, and the NAT direction is going to be from the inside, right? So traffic going in from inside. So let's define this to be inside. So traffic coming inside, right? So that's what static NAT. So always remember that dynamic NAT doesn't do translation in the inside direction. So that is where you use static NAT. So what I mean by that is, from outside of the network or from outside in the internet, if you want to connect back to your enterprise, right? So in that case, you'll have to use static NAT when doing SD-WAN. So that's one thing which I have found out, right? So you can't really connect back from outside, into your enterprise, into your network using dynamic NAT, right? So that's why we are doing that inside here. You can do outside as well, but it's the main use case of static NAT is inside, because if you want to go out, then you can use dynamic NAT, right? That being said, the port numbers and all of that, let's keep it as is, right? And you have an option to mark it as optional. I'm not sure if that works, but let's see. So that should be good. Let's add it here. Okay. So, okay, looks like it did take the optional part, which is good, so that we don't have to do it for everyone, right? So that's cool. So let's update this. So that being said, let's go and obviously put in the configurations, edit. This is for BR3. So for BR3, I am we'll have to put in, obviously the source is going to be 172.17.3.194, right? The destination is the translated address is 1.1.102.63, right? Let's update that. Let's switch it to BR2, and up here let's again change this to edit. right? If you change this to okay, did I make a mistake? I think I was supposed to put 103 up there, right? I think I put 102 if I'm not wrong. Damn it. So I'll have to go back and fix it. But anyway, let's do this till then. 172.17.3. Sorry, it's not 3. It's going to be .2.194. It's not even needed to put here because it's optional, but still I'm putting it to keep everything consistent, right? So this is good. Let me quickly go back and switch back and fix this. So this is gonna be, change it to, yeah, change this 102 to 103, right? Cool. So I think there is one more BR1-1. It's fine. I'm not gonna do it on that guy because I'm anyway not gonna test the NAT stuff over there. Let's configure. Let's select the device. Click OK, and wait for it to finish. Looks like that went in properly, which means time to check, time to verify. Let's go back to BR3, right? Am I getting, yeah, BR3. Let me just clear the screen a bit. Okay, so let's clear the earlier NAT connections if they did exist somewhere. So we have cleared it. Let's check if the configuration actually came in. So show run VPN 0 interface gigabit 0/0, I believe, right? You can see the static NAT part has come in, right? We are basically saying the source VPN is 12, which is super cool. Now what we will do is let's go back to my switch 2 from where we have been testing earlier, right? So we will obviously do both the things, I believe. Let's do we test it from here? We will check from inside to outside first, and then we can check from outside to inside, right? We could do that. So let's do that. So let's do it from inside to outside. Let's check if this works. So from switch to if I want to do like something like ping 8.8.8, and I want to do a source interface of VLAN 12, right? That went in, but I would never know, you know. But let's do a telnet to be on the safer side, right? Because I have to otherwise capture that. It's difficult. So let's do a telnet, and let's telnet it to 1.1.255.25, and let's do a source. Let's source it from where? The VLAN 12, right? So that's pretty cool. Let's check on the portal. Let's refresh this and check what has happened here. We should see a telnet port number 23 incoming connection on that. See, you see here, this is the TCP, the last one. If I scroll to the right, probably we will see a TCP, and you can see the address is 103.63. that is the right address, right, which we had mentioned in our translation. So that's working fine. Let's exit out of here because I want to also show you the inbound, right? And what I'm going to do is let's do a ping this time. So we do a ping from where? From ping to where? Let's use that translated address, which is 1.1.103.63, right? And let's do like a repeat of, I don't know, probably 500, so that we have enough time to go and check it on the portal. There you go. The portal might be a little slow, so we could probably check it on BR3 as well. Right, so if you see the filter output here, right, you can see here the last part, the ICMP entry, and this is basically coming in because of what we are doing right now, right? The connection is basically coming in from, this is the connection, right? You can see the 1.103.63, the translated, source address, right? So that's basically, guys, what I wanted to show you here, right? So maybe is it completed? Probably it's completed. Yeah, cool. So that's basically all the various types of NATs which I wanted to show you here. Just to recap, what we did was we started by discussing the various types of NATs, transport NAT and service NAT, and we mainly concentrated the transport NAT, which is literally translates to the direct internet access, right? How you can provide direct internet access to some of your VPNs, right? That's literally because when you talk about that, you immediately talk about NAT, because whenever you want to talk to someone outside in the internet, you need to have your address translated, otherwise they'll not be able to reach you back, right? That's the whole funda behind that. Then we looked into various types of NATs. We looked into dynamic PAT, static PAT. The idea behind PAT was just port translation. So you basically the dynamic PAT basically translates to like a overload command which you would use in a traditional Cisco device, right? So that is pretty much straightforward. Then we basically we used VPN 12 in our discussions today. So we basically created a static route from VPN 12 to VPN 0, so that all the traffic goes on to the VPN 0. And on VPN 0, it basically gets translated as it leaves the internet interface. So in dynamic PAT, it was pretty straightforward. All the traffic we translate to the 1.1 103.2, which is the internet interface of BR3. Static PAT is where you explicitly tell the IP address of the switch which you want to get translated, and the port numbers as well. Dynamic NAT is where you define the pool, right? We defined a pool of 32 addresses starting from 32 going up to 63, and we did a dynamic NAT where we let the system or we let the edge decide what address it wants to use. And in static NAT is very similar to dynamic NAT, only the difference is we explicitly define the mapping, right? We basically told, okay, let's not use all these addresses, let's use only one single address. So that is it, guys. Thanks for watching, and hope you guys liked it. Do come back for more videos on SD-WAN. Thanks a lot. Bye.